You don't need to wear your helmet. You know that, right?
What if Bethesda made a Star Wars game? Well, thanks to the modding community around Starfield, you can pretty much see what that looks like. I installed a ton of Star Wars mods for this game to see just how far the modding community has come at turning Starfield into, well, something better. Today, I want to dive into Star Wars Starfield and also talk about what might be possible down the road. Let's check it out. So pretty much from the launch day of this game, Star Wars mods were a hot topic. And it makes a lot of sense given just how much the mechanics and themes overlap into the Star Wars universe. Sandy planets? Yep, we got tons of that in Starfield. Space magic powers? Also a yes. Hyperspace jump effects that look almost identical? Of course. So when you slot in some of the classic Star Wars characters like stormtroopers, bounty hunters, aliens, Starfield starts feeling like Star Wars real quick, especially when visiting the perfect locations. Aquila City in particular feels a lot like Mos Eisley. This is really where I saw the most potential of what future mods could do in Starfield. Star Wars has always kind of had this grimy, low-tech Western aesthetic to a lot of its locations, and this desert town of Starfield is perfect for it. The mishmash of old-looking wooden buildings with modern metal structures is absolutely in the ballpark of what I would expect to see in an actual Star Wars game. And sprinkling in a little flavor like the Rebel Alliance hologram and changing the signage makes this city look like it was ripped straight out of an episode of The Mandalorian. It also doesn't hurt that I pretty much look like The Mandalorian. Now, the majority of the mods that I installed for this video simply just tweak textures and assets. Some of the mods replace clothing, armor, character models. We do get into sound effects a bit, and of course replace many of the items with Star Wars themed assets. Beyond that, there's also a bunch of quality of life bug fixes and other miscellaneous mods that I've installed, like 60 FPS smooth UI that makes all the UI elements animate at 60 FPS. Star UI makes the game's inventory system much more functional. Neutral LUTs cleans up the game's aggressive color grading. And of course, there's critical mods like Script Extender and Plugins Text Enabler that most mods will really need to run. One of the highlights for me for sure is the Star Wars Armor Pack that adds a bunch of Mandalorian and Clone Trooper armor sets to the game. They're all standalone, so any existing suits you might have on your game save won't get replaced with them, which is nice. And I gotta say the quality on these ones is top notch, especially for the Mandalorian armor. It's amazing how much of a difference your armor can actually make when it comes to just the feeling of the game and your character. Now keep in mind that many of the armor tools have to be crafted at industrial workbenches, so if you don't see them in your inventory, that's where you will find them, or rather make them. Another highlight are the mods that replace the faction cosmetics, so the United Colonies becomes the Empire, the Freestar Collective turns into the Rebel Alliance, and so on and so forth. And it is kind of cool just how nicely those faction changes fit into the current Starfield world setup. I mean, it really does feel like a game that's designed to just become a Star Wars game. Now the weapons and lightsabers are also another highlight. The guns themselves translate better because they're based on just general gun animations, where the lightsabers are still pulling off of the typical melee animations in Starfield, so it's not like you're running around looking like a Jedi Knight per se, but nonetheless just having a lightsaber in Starfield is dope. And with everything active, seeing all these Star Wars characters mixed in with regular NPCs adds that vintage original trilogy feel to the game, while also improving just the variety of characters that you see in the world. Even if you're not into Star Wars, there's already some great character replacement mods that add that alien humanoid presence that Starfield never really had. I was actually surprised at how effective simply swapping ship audio files out with ones from Star Wars changed the feeling of the game. Starfield's ship sounds are already pretty cool, but the Star Wars ones just have that nostalgia kick. Hearing the engines come to life as a massive ship descends onto a landing pad is just super cool. Unfortunately, the sound mods for the ships only extend to the engines and weapons for now. All of the other sounds like doors, interior ambiance, shield warnings are still Starfield's, which will pull you out of the immersion a little bit. Now, the UC Vigilance also really sells that Star Wars vibe quite nicely. These guys were already the Starfield version of the Empire with different uniforms, and seeing them actually wear the Imperial gladiatorial uniforms felt absolutely perfect. I also installed a mod that gives the prisoners the inmate uniform from Andor. Now what about the actual gameplay? Well, it is basically the exact same vanilla experience as Starfield. None of the mods I installed affect weapon balance or change how weapons behave. There are mods for jetpacks that turn them into actual jetpacks, ones that reduce enemy health to make them less spongy, remove shipbuilding limitations, and all that kind of fun stuff to actually change up the gameplay, but modders are still restricted to really basic adjustments until better tools come out for the game. That said, hacking people down with a lightsaber definitely feels different, even if it is similar gameplay to what Starfield already has. Running into a gang of Mandalorian bounty hunters holding up in a deserted outpost is also super cool, regardless of how complete of a Star Wars experience it might be. Now, what's possible right now is again very limited since Bethesda hasn't released the creation kit modding tools for Starfield, but they are coming out eventually, and I imagine once they do, the floodgates will open. The big thing you'll notice with these mods is that while some small elements of the game like computer monitors, signage, characters, and weapons are all Star Wars themed, the stuff around them isn't. So the UC Vigilance's computer stations, interior decorations like cargo containers, and general design aesthetics are all still Starfield. Once Creation Kit launches, modders should be able to replace those assets as well, and that will really seal the deal when it comes to creating a fully immersive experience. As it stands right now, modding Starfield is akin to swapping action figures out with Star Wars ones and filling the rest in with your imagination. But once those better modding tools come out, I think it's a safe bet that someone will put together a total conversion mod list pretty quickly. Now, of course, everybody's chomping at the bit for a solid Starfield total conversion mod, because to be honest, the base game of Starfield is kind of bland and boring. Just throwing in a little bit of Star Wars flavor already makes me see the potential of some total conversion mods. I do wonder how much some of the engine issues are going to hold back some of these bigger mod projects in the long run. If Starfield was built from the ground up to have seamless transitions and not so many loading screens, or the ability to fly a spaceship around a much larger, more procedural planet, then this game platform would be absolutely ripe for massive mods that could turn it into everything. But with all the loading screen and kind of janky mechanics of Starfield, I wonder if that's going to quell some of the hype around making massive total conversion mods for this game if the base tech already isn't particularly impressive. Maybe high-skill modders are going to flock to other projects instead. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully those modding tools that are coming out are going to allow players to do a lot more with messing with the underlying mechanics of the engine. What do you guys think about Starfield modding and the latest updates for the game? Are you still playing this at all? Let me know in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. Up next, check out one of the most technologically impressive Minecraft mods I've ever seen that absolutely transforms the game in the best way possible. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.